I'd like to say hi. My name is Erica. I am a strategist here on the East region for Best Friends. And we have a lot of wonderful strategists. They're probably the ones that reached out to you about these series. And yeah, we do a lot of wonderful things for shelters, and we love to connect with you and engage. So that's a little bit about who I am. But I would love to pass it on to our panelists so they can tell you a little about themselves and what organizations they represent. So I'll go ahead and start with Nikki Yukum from Animal Farm Foundation, who got us started on that first session. So Nikki, if you don't mind introing yourself. Oh, Nick, you're muted. There you go.
All right, I'll start over. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Yukum. I am the Director of Operations and Public Policy for Animal Farm Foundation and the National Canine Research Council. At Animal Farm Foundation, we work to relieve some of the pressure shelters are facing through our shelter consulting program, our workshops, our vast resource library, through our collaborative community partnerships, like our partnership program with Human Food Pantries. We also offer science-based tools and practical support to meet the evolving needs of dogs in their communities. If you're looking for guidance or resources, or you just want to brainstorm something, our team is always happy to chat. I've been working at Animal Farm since 2013. Over the years, I've helped develop programs focused on strengthening the bond between people and pets, including tools that help shelters move away from breed labels and focus all dogs are individuals, which we talked about in the first session. And then these days, I split my time between a range of sheltering projects, helping shelters and communities adopt more equitable evidence-based policies and language. And additionally, via the National Canine Research Council, I focus on creating and providing resources to end breed-specific legislation and insurance restrictions. And real quickly, I just want to say thank you all for joining us. And I just want to say a huge thank you to the Best Friends regional team for making these life-saving labs happen. It's been a really fun ride. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Nikki. That was so sweet. I will pass it now to Bernice Clifford from Animal Farm as well.
Hi, guys. I am Bernice Clifford, Executive Director of Animal Farm Foundation and National Canine Research Council. I think Nikki did a really great job introducing who we are and what we do. The other thing I would add to it is we do have a small on-site shelter for dogs that would be identified as pit bull type dogs. And we can hold 25 to 30 dogs at any given time. And all of our dogs come from animal control type facilities.
Thank you, Bernice. I will go ahead and pass it over to Alyssa if you'll introduce us.
I would love to. Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa. I work over at Craven Pamlico Animal Services Center. We are located in New Bern, North Carolina. We are an open admission municipal shelter. It takes in about 5,000 animals a year, mainly dogs and cats, but we also take in anything that has to come to us, including fish, horses, anything like that. So we're a pretty small team, and I oversee the shelter operations. But yeah, I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and this is my first time. I've been here for about 2 years. It's my first time working for a municipal shelter. I've worked for nonprofits in the past, both higher euthanasia levels and no-kill. So very excited to be joining you all and hopefully learn from the other panelists as well, and we can all kind of share our knowledge.
Thank you, Alyssa. I appreciate that. I will pass it on to Audra to introduce.
Hi, my name is Audra Michael. I'm the Director of Pinal County Animal Care and Control, and we're located here in lovely hot Arizona. We are a municipal shelter. We only take cats and dogs, though, Alyssa. We do not take other pets. I mean, every once in a while we'll get a bunny or a pig, but no, just dogs and cats were boring. And I've started as an ACO, and I worked my way up the chain, and then I got very fortunate that the director left and put me in charge, and they left me here. So I've been the director since 2015, and really excited to be here. I was really happy you guys invited me. Thank you so much. And I'm also really excited to work with Megan because she was my accountability partner in the executive leadership cohort. So love Megan. But yeah, thank you. I'm excited.
Thank you. We're also excited that you're here and that your accountability partner is here. I'll let Megan introduce herself and finish
Thank you,
our
Audra.
Yeah.
Thank you, Audra. Yeah, cohort 2 with the executive leadership program. And it sounds like it's your 10-year anniversary, Audra, at that position. So congratulations. And I also want to echo thank you to Best Friends for these opportunities. My name is Megan Colville. I'm the shelter director at Cincinnati Animal Care. We're in Cincinnati as a surprise to everybody, I'm sure. We are a humane society with a contract for animal services and animal control. So we oversee all of that throughout Hamilton County. It's about a little over 400 square miles, and we serve about 850,000 people. And our intake fluctuates a little bit. We're about 7,000 a year, and it's pretty 50-50 cats and dogs. But we are a new organization. That's something that makes us pretty unique. I don't think I'm going to be able to say that for much longer, but we were formed in 2020. So we're at our 5-year anniversary on August 1st of holding this contract. And I'm one of the founders and have been here since the very beginning. So I'm excited to share some ideas here today.
Thank you, Megan. I appreciate you being here as well. So we'll go ahead and get started with some of the questions that we had from our first session. So Nikki, you're going to be our first on the board. So our first question from the audience was, do you mark everyone as mixed breed? How does this affect housing issues at apartments or rental houses? And what about the ability to utilize breed-specific rescues?
Okay, so a three-parter. So yes, we list all of our dogs as mixed breed. We made that shift because we know breed labels are just guesses. They're often inaccurate ones that lead to misconceptions and stereotypes about individual dogs. With that said, online marketing does add a layer of complexity because most adoption websites and search tools still rely heavily on those breed filters. We found at our organization that the dogs' profiles are still getting viewed more without those labels than with them. But for us, it's really about getting the dogs home. So if we have a dog that's in the shelter for a little bit, we will add a breed label only online, and then include a clear disclaimer saying, like, this is just a guess. It's solely based on search visibility. Because ultimately the goal is to get the dogs home, and sometimes that means playing around with the algorithms a little bit while staying honest and transparent with our public. But how does that affect housing and apartment issues? What I found that with removing breed labels, it actually has helped open up housing options. I've heard from many shelters that once they stop labeling the dog's breed, landlords who are used to saying automatically no to certain dogs are suddenly willing to have a conversation. Without a breed label, there's less room for that snap judgment based on those stereotypes. We don't take the role at Animal Farm Foundation of enforcing housing rules. That's up to the adopter's responsibility to understand their leases. But if they do bring it up, it does create a great opportunity for us to talk about how subjective breed identification is. Sometimes adopters have success advocating for their dogs with housing providers because there's no breed label attached. It shifts the conversation from you can't have the pit bull dog to here's a friendly, well-mannered dog. Like, can we talk about what possibilities there are? And then what about working with breed-specific rescues? I think is that. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
you got it. Yeah.
So removing breed labels, I wouldn't say limits your availability to partner with breed-specific rescues. Most of them understand that visual breed identification is not reliable. And they're looking at photos and videos from your organization, and they're making their own judgments anyway, usually with or without the labels. And just because you don't use breed labels on your dogs publicly doesn't mean you can't send a email to a rescue and say, hey, I have a dog that might be your type. Do you want to take a look? It's really about the relationship and the individual dog and not that label that is attached to them.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate you expanding more on breed labeling, especially how you're utilizing it at your organization. So this next question is also for you as well from the audience. Regarding removing breed labels, what do you do when someone comes in looking for a specific breed? How do you have that conversation with them?
Okay, so when someone comes in and is asking for a certain breed, I think that we should welcome that. People should be allowed to have preferences. I know I certainly do. But it's a chance to dig in a little deeper and have a conversation. I would ask things like, what about this breed do you really love? Or what are you looking to do with your dog every day, to get the idea of what the adopter is actually looking for. And sometimes we do have a dog that looks similar to the look that they're looking for and shares the qualities that they're after. And sometimes by learning more about what they need, we can also introduce them to dogs that maybe they hadn't considered. One that might not have the exact look, but checks all of the other boxes. And then of course, if they really want a specific breed, we're happy to, if we don't have it at our organization, connect them with a specific breed-specific rescue in our area. Personally, I almost didn't adopt my own dog because he didn't fit the preferred look that I really like. And then he turned out to be the best dog ever. So I think that's a good reminder for me that most people are going to be flexible with what they think. And they may be coming for a specific dog that they have in mind, but often they can leave with one that truly is going to fit into their life.
I completely agree. Sorry, did you want to keep going, Nikki?
Oh, go ahead. I think that's it.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think it's really important to have those conversations about breeds. And also, I'm sure a lot of us get size questions too. They come, people coming in wanting small dogs, and we have a lot of big dogs. So talking and having conversations about what that is that they're looking for specifically, and personality and things like that can help us make a match better. So thank you, Nikki.
Absolutely.
I know that Animal Farm Foundation has a lot of information about the breed labeling, which we'll have on our Trello board as resources if anyone wants to dig further into that. And of course, Animal Farm Foundation is there to be a resource for anyone here as well regarding that topic. So thank you so much, Nikki. I'm going to ask Bernice now our third question from the audience. Which is it common practice to adopt out dogs that have been involved in dog fighting?
I'm going to say, I hope so. It's really important to remember these dogs are victims of cruelty. They haven't actually committed a crime. The people who had them in their possession committed crimes. Over the years, I've had the opportunity to actually be involved with HSUS and evaluating dogs from such situations. And prior to Michael Vick, we were lucky to be able to take off the top, like the very best dogs, right? So they'd be like, you can take like 2 to 4. And then the dogs from Michael Vick, while it was an awful situation, actually opened the door thanks to groups like Best Friends. And Bad Rap and all those other organizations, it opened the doors and people's eyes to see their dogs and need to be treated as individuals. There have been times that we did evaluations for HSUS and would pull in 20 or 30 dogs from their care. And the biggest behavior problem we saw with these dogs, house training. Just like with hoarding cases, right? So most of them haven't actually even participated in any of the awful things that we think they have. They were just there for breeding or whatever.
Thank you, Bernice. Yeah, that is a really challenging situation. And so I know some shelters have had to make or think that they have to make certain decisions. So I'm glad that, you are someone that they could reach out to as a resource, Best Friends as well, to talk through some of those difficult situations. So I appreciate that. I am going to now Ask Audra. So I really would love for you to tell us more about your daily walks program at your shelter. I'd love to know how it's run, what successes you've seen from the program. It seems like something really fun for your community to be involved with your big dog. So tell us about it.
Okay, so we have something that's called public walks, and it's every single day of the week from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. right now because it's hot. And then in the winter, we do it 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. All they have to do, a lot of people, they want to come and help, but they don't know what to do. They don't know what they're capable of doing. They don't really want to go through orientation. So we just tell them they can just show up at 6 in the morning, and we already have dogs that are deemed public walkers on our boards, and we hand them a dog and they can walk 1 or they can walk 10, however many they want to. Of course, we do have them sign a waiver before they start walking our dogs, and they can bring their children if they want to, but their children cannot walk the dog only unless they're 16 years old and up. But we a couple of weeks ago we had Texas Roadhouse. They just showed up to like walk dogs, and there was like 20 of them, and I only have 3 people that do public walks at this time, and they were kind of like because we didn't know they were coming. But it was great. It ended up being great. We took pictures, and then just that got other businesses wanting to come out and walk dogs for us and everything. And then of course we get schools that want to do it, and soccer groups and all kinds of different things. And it really helps get the dogs seen, because a lot of the dogs that people walk, they end up adopting because they just love that dog. So it's been very successful. We do it we've been doing it pretty much since 2020, maybe, when COVID hit. We didn't shoo away our volunteers. We just said, sure, come walk dogs. Just, when you're around us, wear a mask. But it's been very successful. And we've really never had any issues like a dog getting loose and attacking somebody or anything. We haven't had any issues like that. We haven't had people get bit and all that other thing. But we definitely cater to that person. We're not going to hand an 80-year-old woman a big giant like Mastiff or something to walk down the road. So we're very attuned to what type of people and what type of dog. But it's very successful, and it's been a really good program. A lot of shelters in Arizona want to do something like that, but they just aren't sure how to go about it.
Yeah, I absolutely love that idea of a nice way to involve the community in a way that maybe feels more approachable for them, and, a way to get their steps in and encourage your community to be healthy, and to also get these dogs seen in your community, that they can be walked and they are just pets. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. I love that program. Thank you for sharing that, Audra.
Sure.
I am now going to ask Alyssa, when it comes to transparency with your community and with your staff around about dog behavior decisions at your shelter, how do you handle that conversation? So, there's big dog decisions that may be around euthanasia decisions. How are you having that conversation with your staff that then can have those with your community?
Yeah, I love this question because I think as long as I have been in animal welfare, euthanasia can very often still be a very taboo thing. And unfortunately, it is still something that happens very often throughout the nation. So when it comes to my staff, I think there is an internal understanding of we do everything that we can for our animals, both medically and behaviorally. But we are a small team, and unfortunately, we don't have a ton of resources as far as like knowledgeable staff or staff that have been doing this a long time. While seasoned staff, I unfortunately am the one that has the only staff member that has had previous experience when coming from a shelter. So most of my staff is not super familiar with difficult to place dogs or dogs that have resource guarding, stranger danger, all of those things. So those are more nuanced behaviors that we sometimes struggle with. But I think that our shelter is a little bit more unique in the fact that we've dealt with really bad publicity in the past from a lack of transparency and not being very honest with a dog that ended up being euthanized and stating that it made it out alive. And so that had really turned the shelter on its head. So when I started, it was something that was very important to me, that we're very honest with the public and telling them, look, these are our issues, this is what we're dealing with. And so pretty much everyone that comes in to surrender an animal, we tell them that there is a possibility that their animal will have to be euthanized. And we will try everything that we can, but the honest truth is that we can't save them all. Even if we can try as hard as we want to, we can't save them. So telling that to everyone, I will say about 85% of people do still choose to surrender their pet, and they're kind of turn an eye to it, or they don't want to hear that, they don't want to know. But the good thing is that we are making them aware. We're letting them know that, hey, this isn't just us. We can't fix, as a shelter, we can't fix this problem on our own. We have to tell the community what we're struggling with. We have to tell the community that we don't have space. These are behaviors that we can't really handle or deal with or place appropriately. And those are all important things that we tell people straight from the get. Is this is what's going to happen if your dog, has a bite to the face with 16 sutures. It's probably not going to make it out of our facility alive. That doesn't mean that we are not going to give it a humane ending of life, meaning chocolate overload and love and whatever else we can give it. But it does mean that that's something that our community just can't handle, unfortunately, and we know that. And we also know that we wouldn't be doing anyone any favors by trying to ask every single shelter who's already full with amazing dogs to take a dog that would have some significant behavior or medical challenges sometimes. So we try and be very transparent, and so far it works for us community-wise. They seem to really respect the fact that we are open and honest with what's happening here. Yeah.
Thank you, Alyssa. I know that question can be somewhat sensitive, so I appreciate you being so honest and transparent with us as well. I think one of the most important things you've mentioned there is absolutely that transparency with your community. And I think a great thing that helps with that is looking at your data, right? And showing your community the efforts that you're putting in towards Lifesaving, and showing your community the ways that they can be involved and help, so that you can attempt to save as many as you can. But of course, still having those difficult conversations around behavior and medical. And so I love your shelter and your organization. They are doing a wonderful job. It is really hard work. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you answering that question for us, Alyssa. I am now gonna go ahead and ask Megan, another communicating with your staff question, but how do you communicate with your staff about how to have conversations with potential adopters when they're interested in dogs with behavior needs? So, when you have those difficult to place dogs, how are you helping your staff understand how to have those conversations with your community and potential adopters?
That's a big focus of ours, and I'm right there with Alyssa on the transparency. Being upfront and letting people know that there are, whatever the issues might be, whatever we've seen, is really important. And we like to provide a lot of context around it, whether it's something that has happened here at the shelter that we've actually laid eyes on, whether a behavior is something that's happened, in a home. We try to provide as much information as possible. But probably the biggest focus for our staff is taking that behavior and talking to the potential adopter or sometimes potential foster about how to be successful in their home with that behavior. And because frankly, if we are promoting this animal, then we feel it can be successfully placed. If we're like, yikes, we don't think we can do this one, then we shouldn't be promoting it to our public. So any animal that we have available, we feel can be successfully placed. It might need to have very specific housing situation or a family, but nonetheless, we feel like it can be done. So our team, we spend a lot of time working on not just discussing what the behavior is, although that's important. We need to be able to talk in a way that isn't industry jargon, We need to be able to break it down and explain it in a way that the community understands. So we have a lot of reminders about that, but also just focusing the majority of the conversation on, sure, the animal has these behaviors. We've seen it be successful in this situation. We feel like it could be. Here's what we think you would need to do to bring this animal home successfully.
Absolutely. I think that is all very important. Learning how to have those conversations around behavior can be crucial for helping our big dogs find positive outcomes. So it's wonderful, all the work that you're doing in your organization to help your staff have those kind of conversations with your community. I love that.
Well, just to add one thing, I think
please.
Something that our leadership has needed to focus on as well, because it can be a tough conversation to have, and people may not know what exactly to say. So we've got really strong managers that can model that, that can kind of coach our team through it. But it's not easy all the time, and so we as leaders, we can't dodge it. We have to just embrace it, face it up front, and kind of provide that script. And then it gets easier because once you've done it a couple times, especially for the same behavior, you start seeing a pattern, and it becomes a little bit easier, especially for some of our frontline workers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a great thing that you said was about the jargon, and, having those leaders have those conversations or continue to stay consistent with those conversations with their staff and employees is great. So, Animal Farm Foundation talked a lot about how much language matters when we're talking about behavior for our dogs. And they have a lot of wonderful resources that, like flashcards that you can even have in your shelter to help have those like shifts in language with your staff so that it's shared out to your community too. So I think all of that is really great as well.
I'll add one more thing, Eric. I'm sorry.
Yeah, please. No, go ahead. I love it.
Hey, just one, I mean, your question was around adopters, but we do use some industry jargon internally, but we make sure to provide there's a cheat sheet so people know what JAM means, they know what SD means, stranger danger, things like that they're familiar with. So if you are using it, I recommend making sure even your internal people may not know. So we try to make that available to volunteers, fosters, and staff. And it's nice for me because when I type stuff up, I use the abbreviations internally, and people need to figure out what it means. They can go look if they need to.
Yeah, that's a great tip. Absolutely. Always have a little cheat sheet with all of those for your volunteers and fosters, especially. So I love that. I am going to ask now kind of a general question for anyone that would like to answer. Whoever would like to, as many times. But I wanted to kind of get into some time, space, and capacity conversations as well. So with summer in full swing right now, I know a lot of shelters are struggling. Your own organization may be struggling with capacity. So what is something you're doing right now for big dogs in your care that is helping with those capacity concerns? Now, this could include scheduled owner surrenders. Maybe you're practicing advanced return to home practices in the field, or your adoption events you're doing offsite or fee waived. And how is that helping with big dogs?
I'll jump in for this. So we, as a shelter, so we are an open admission facility. So historically, we take in anything and everything that walks through our door. It can make for very, very chaotic days, obviously. So we decided to move to a version of managed intake, but we are scheduling owner surrenders. The difference between, the way we do it and the way some other people have done it, we scheduled those for a specific day and time. It's not based off of when we have space, we will call you. It is, okay, today is Wednesday. We are going to schedule you. I have an appointment open for Monday at 2 p.m. And then we all know that, hey, we have 4 dogs coming in today. That is, aside from strays, and unfortunately we can't help that. Strays they got to go somewhere. So can't help that side of it, but it does help with the owner surrenders. And one thing that I've really noticed with that I think has been the most beneficial, aside from knowing what's coming in, is giving people that buffer period where they aren't being forced to make those rash decisions. Because we all see it. People come in, they're emotional, the stakes are high. They feel like this dog needs to leave their house right this second. And then a couple days later, they end up regretting that decision or wanting the dog back or whatever it may be. I actually just experienced this yesterday. A gentleman called me and we scheduled an appointment to surrender his Mastiff on Thursday. And I got a text from him this morning that one of his friends ended up taking it last night. So there's those situations I think have really, really helped us in order to be able to maybe take a breather. And I'm sure it has deterred a good amount, but it also lets us have that conversation up front of why are you trying to surrender your pet? We have a specific fund pocket that we are able to pull finances from if it's something to do with, you know, finances, money, their pet deposit for their house. If it's something like that, that we can help them to keep that pet in the home, then we can go that route and we don't have to deal with it at the same time that they're already there trying to surrender their dog. Here's the dog. I don't want to deal with any more, you know, questions or solutions. I just want you to take my dog type of thing. So I highly recommend doing scheduled appointments based off of appointments, not when space opens, because we're never going to have space.
I can jump in for a few, and those were really good ideas. I think when we start getting really either full, and we have a way of measuring that, we actually keep a we've got kind of a 4-stage alarm system of we're in good phase with this population, we're getting iffy with this population, we're at risk with this population, then we call it a code red once we hit a certain population. So getting that consistency has been helpful because my team a lot, and I have been in the past as well, has like, we're full, it's so crazy, but we've really wanted to turn that into a number so that we're all speaking the same language. But when we hit those marks, every department has things that they should be doing, whether it's decreasing intakes or pushing, you know, adoption events. But the biggest thing I think that we've done to make an impact with our big dogs has been to turn our focus to the easiest ones and even the small dogs and the puppies. And the reason I say that is we did an event a couple weeks ago, a big promotion for small dogs and puppies, and it brought people in. We had a line out the door. They all left. The small dogs and puppies in Ohio, we don't have a ton of those. So then the people that were coming in and we were kind of out of all those, we're sticking around and actually adopting some of our bigger dogs. So we were using those small dogs and those puppies to draw in potential adopters. And we actually had I think it was 3, definitely 2, but I think it was 3 of our like hard to adopt dogs left that day as well, which was really exciting. And it was really good morale for the team. So again, kind of, you might be thinking really focus on those big dogs. If you focus on some of the smaller ones, you might bring in some adopters. And then the other part was just really strategic placement throughout the shelter. So utilizing like those however your shelter's laid out, utilizing some front kennels. We're in an old building, so we have these weird like doggy in the windows. Those, if we have the right dogs in there, the turnover, like they're gone the same day. And sometimes we're putting more than one dog in, not at the same time, but like we're able to move several dogs in those areas. So we start focusing on low-hanging fruit, get as many out the door. I don't care what size they are, get them going, get them moving so that we can just open up some of those kennels and get moving. We used to focus more on our hardest to adopt, which kind of slowed us down. So that shift in thinking has been helpful for us.
Megan, I just wanted to piggyback off of that. The same thing goes for rescue. I know that when I started, a lot of the commissioners and higher ups didn't like that we were sending a lot of our puppies and highly adoptable, you know, fluffy dogs out to rescue groups instead of letting them be adopted by our community members. And I think one thing that helps is nothing is off limits for rescue. If a rescue wants to come in and pull the 5 cutest puppies that I have, great, that's still a kennel open, even if it's not this dog that I really want placed that's been here for 6 months. So we do the same, but on, you know, whatever level.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
All right. Yep, Audra, did you want to jump in?
No, we do both of those. So yeah, we do have managed intake, but when we first started doing it, it just like got out of hand because we were making people wait like 6 months to bring a dog in. And that's really not public service, and we're a muni, so we have to serve the public. So we basically have appointments the longest they're going to wait is 6 weeks. But while they're waiting, we had distemper this year. So we've never had that here at the shelter before. And so now we've implemented a program where we ask the person that wants to surrender their pet to bring it in so we can vaccinate it. And then we'll take a picture, we'll get their information, we put it on 24 Pet Connect because we use Chameleon, and we'll say not in shelter, but the dog is available. If somebody sees it and they want to inquire about the dog, they can bring it in. We make them bring the dog back again in 2 weeks and we vaccinate it again. And we will get that pet fixed, and we will not charge them an owner surrender fee if they agree to cooperate with all of those little requirements. So far, I think we only started like a month ago. So I think so far it's okay. But yeah, we get sidetracked in thinking, oh my God, we're full and I don't want to have to euthanize a dog to bring in another one. And ultimately we are public servants. That's why we're here. And we have to serve the public. We cannot we can't just say no. Everything cannot be no. So that's why conversations are really, really important.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm jumping in again.
Don't be sorry.
That just made me think of, we utilize Home to Home. If you are not familiar with it, definitely go do your research. Look at Home to Home. It is a great program that utilizes placing animals into either adoptive homes or foster homes without really any work on the shelter's part. And just like she was saying, people need a solution. So even if you're not able to take that dog today, okay, what can you do for me? Because that's what they're going to care about, unfortunately. So giving them something else when you are, scheduling an appointment or saying, we're super full right now, try this instead, or do this in the meantime. We utilize Home to Home for that, so that they're at least attempting to find a home for that animal before it physically has to come into the shelter. And it has been some success, we've had some success with it. But even at the end of the day, if you in an entire year have 5 animals placed through Home to Home, that's still 5 less that had to come to your facility. So look into that if you're not already using it.
Yeah, we use that too.
Yeah, that's a wonderful resource. That definitely take a look into that. Okay. I will go ahead and we'll jump into another everyone question. So this one is, what advice would you give to a shelter struggling to find time to help dogs in their care when they're low staffed or low resourced? What can they focus on right now to help them succeed? Now, this advice could include, staying mentally well. I know that can be a challenge in our profession with the sensitive things that we deal with, or finding ways to ask the community for help, whether that's starting an Amazon wish list or putting out volunteer and foster pleas, building relationships with local shelters, rescues, other businesses, and also talking with like your county government and things like that. So is there advice you would give to those that are struggling with, low resources and low staff?
I could jump in. So when I first took over in 2015, there were a lot of programs we didn't do. So I was always under the impression that you needed mass amounts of funding to be able to do certain programs. And one of the first programs that we started to do was the behavior, like walking dogs every day, doing play groups, the behavior. So we hired somebody, and she's my deputy director now, but she was one person that was in charge of, 150 dogs, 200 dogs. And, she would try to get as many out as she could. But we also started getting volunteers to come in and help out. We have a volunteer right now that is a nurse, and she comes in every single day almost and does play groups for us with over 100 dogs. She gets over 100 dogs into play group, and then she goes to work and she loves it. She says it's her me time, and she's phenomenal. And now that, well, it was Katrina, and then it went to one other person, and now we have 5 program coordinators because we realized that It's a lot of work. It's very hard, especially in the summer. And we need help. So utilize your volunteers if they're interested in it. And we also give the staff an opportunity to learn how to do play groups and such as well, if they want to learn it, so that they can then, you know, take a dog out and start taking pictures of it and stuff when they have some downtime. But it does take time and it does take finances. I mean, unfortunately, my board, they love what we do. So they're always like, sure, if you need more help, here, here, here. So yeah, now we have 3 full-time program coordinators and 2 part-time, when it was just 1 for, you know, all those animals. But that's how we've been utilizing, you know, staff and volunteers.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. I know that Alyssa, you do some really wonderful things with local businesses and local organizations as well, that I think it'd be really wonderful for you to chat about. And same with Megan. I know that you have that RAD program. I would love to hear a little bit more about with your volunteers too. So.
Yeah, sure. I kind of add a little bit to what Audra was saying. I think she's spot on. If you are an organization that's struggling with people, we're very fortunate as well to have a very supportive government. The commissioners here have been very supportive of us, and I recognize how fortunate we are. But it's not just their like kindness. We've also done a really good job of presenting the story, putting the data together, proving that it's working. And I'm sure, Audrey, you've done that same thing. A lot of boards and a lot of government entities aren't just going to blindly throw money around. If you can find the time to really find those data points and tell your story, there's no guarantees, but it's going to make a much bigger difference, I hope, in getting you the support that you need, that whether it's financial or you know, more staffing or anything like that. You mentioned the RAD program, Erica. We've got a really good team here, and one of our longtime behavior and training coordinators, Deborah Tung, put together a program called RAD. It stands for Reactive Anxiety and Drive. And it's very similar to probably other shelters out there. Some of you may be familiar with just kind of like dog training programs within your organization. She launched this just recently, back in March, and we've had several dogs go through this program. It's basically a basic obedience type training program for certain dogs that are showing that reactivity, anxiety, or high drive of some kind. And we identified those as kind of the 3 biggest obstacles to adoption. People don't like the bad kennel presence. People typically don't like dogs that are super reactive, that are going after maybe other animals or anything like that. So we really hand select the dogs that go through that program. We have staff that have also gone through some kind of training, and it's open to everybody, you know, in the organization to be able to work with a dog. And the program runs about a month, and the dogs come out of it with some kind of basic obedience skills. It's similar to kind of the AKC puppy training, the star puppy. And it's been a really great way to get those dogs additional training that's going to help place them, just give them something to do. You know, that some of those dogs that are just kind of struggling in the shelter, it gives them that extra time, but it also is really building up the skills of our staff. They're learning how to handle, they're learning how to address small issues. And then back to what I said earlier, they're learning how to talk about them. They're learning how to coach adopters or potential fosters through those behaviors as well. So it's really been a great program. It's still pretty new to us, but we're seeing a lot of success. We've had a couple of our long timers, some of our dogs that have really struggled have gone into homes, and we really feel that it was because of this program. We saw their behavior improve. And then usually when there's a RAD dog that is being looked at by an adopter or a foster, if the person that has been training them is available, they go do the meet and greet because they know the dogs so well and they can really promote them. So it's been a cool program, kind of for everybody, for the animals and the people.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. A really great way to utilize volunteers and help impact big dogs.
Hey, one other thing about the just advice to struggling shelters, especially if you don't have the resources. One thing I've had to learn is delegate. Spread the wealth. Audra mentioned that as well, just opening up training to anybody. You know, different staff can jump in and do it. If you have somebody that has a passion for something, let them go. trust, let them go, maybe give them some parameters, but we all can't do it ourselves. And I will reiterate again, the transparency part. The community can't help unless they know what's going on, unless they know what kind of help you need. And that, I think, has been if I had to say one success, one thing that has attributed to any success we've had, it's been that transparency. Our community has really rallied around us because of just being honest and being very vocal about all the help that we need. And they've come to our rescue multiple times. So I can't say enough about that transparency piece, but get your team involved, let them do things, let them take on projects, and spread that out, and you'll be able to get a lot more done.
Absolutely agree.
Sorry.
No, go for it, Alyssa, please.
Megan, I feel like I keep echoing everything that you're saying, but yes, on your point of your staff members finding passion for something. I have a staff member who really loves looking at fecal slides. Don't know why, but she loves it. She loves finding worms and parasites and all that stuff. So she's our person that we go to for that. And she finds joy in it. So there's a certain time of the day where she will grab fecals and just look at them, and it keeps her happy. So find the things that your staff likes, even if it's something small like that, or they really like organizing in general or whatever else. It can help them feel like they're more important, because they are. And it can be very difficult to keep doing the same thing day in and day out. On the side of staff morale as well, another thing that is small that we do is it's actually this little board that is behind me, but it's literally just an appreciation board. So anytime you have a shout out, and we've opened it up to volunteers and our animal control officers and all of them as well. So anytime you have a shout out for someone, you just throw it on the board. And then at the end of each month, I go through and I pick a name, like just a regular drawing, and they get a prize. So it's something small, but it also helps for the staff to know, like, hey, maybe that was noticed, even if I didn't feel like it was seen at that exact moment. But yeah, do you want me to talk about the coalition? Sorry.
I think that would be wonderful. I think it's a great way to highlight how you're working with other organizations and getting some of that support. So yeah.
Yes. So we call it a pet coalition, mainly because I couldn't really think of a better name for it, honestly. So essentially what we decided to do is I put together a meeting opportunity for all of our local shelters, rescues, animal control officers, kind of within like a 2-hour radius, to come to one spot. We do it quarterly, so every 3 months or so we'll meet up, and we've had only 2 meetings so far, so it's still very, very new. But basically I started it because I got it as an idea from best friends. I don't remember, I think it was Spencer or someone that I heard chatting about it, but we started it because I wanted us to have a space that we could all collectively put our minds together for solutions that can happen throughout our community, but also what are the struggles that are happening that we're all kind of seeing. So it's been very beneficial so far. We have gotten to, I know in our last meeting, we were all talking about, man, Giardia is really crazy this year. And then we realized that it's not just us. It's not anything that we are doing wrong with our protocols. It's everything is coming in with Giardia or coccidia. And that was something that was seen by all of the local shelters and rescues. So it helped to feel like we weren't alone and we were doing something wrong, particularly. They're just kind of coming in with it. But then on the other side, it also helps as being able to share resources too, because that's really important. It's very simple to feel like you're alone in the animal welfare field, especially if you're new to it, or even if you've been in it for a long time, but you are going to a new shelter, or constant staff turnover, or whatever it may be. It's good to have people that you can relate to, that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of and share resources. One of the ones that I really wanted to share, so you guys can hopefully utilize it as well, Greater Goods Charity, their pharmaceutical side of it has a lot of really great grant opportunities that are really simple to apply for. And once you get in, I get emails very regularly about, hey, this short dated NextGuard Plus, if you guys wanted any. So that has helped us. That is the only reason why we are able to provide preventatives for all of our dogs. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in our budget. So look for those resource tools that it doesn't have to necessarily be money that you're getting. Maybe there's goods that you can get instead. I know nope, not them, VCA just did a grant for us. We got 250 Kongs donated. So find those grants that are maybe not as much money related as they are finance or goods, because I know that the commissioners and kind of your higher ups, if you're a county like me, they can sometimes feel a little bit weird about asking for money all the time. So check out those resources. They're very easy. At least I thought so.
I love that advice. All right. Does anyone else on the panel have any final words before we do our little outro around the 55 mark? Any additional tips?
I'll
Yes.
give you one more, Erica.
I love it, please.
A thing that we have found is that when we're continually being transparent with our community, it can become very redundant, and we just feel like we're saying the same thing over and over again. So we try to find different ways to say it. One thing that we did, Audra started with the whole conversation here with, we call them day trips. I forget what you call them, Audra, but just taking the dogs out for the day, the public walks. We do that as well. We call them day trips. But around Valentine's Day, we remarketed it as blind dates with blind date with a dog, and it went off the charts. People were so excited about it. It was just a day trip. It was the same thing that we offer every day of the year. But this blind date with a dog around Valentine's Day, we were not staffed for the response that we had. And so just getting excited about or finding different ways to kind of promote some things can be, can really hit home with your community. And if it does work, pay attention to that because you want to repeat that if you can.
We've done that too. We do pajama parties around Valentine's, and we have people take a dog home for the weekend or just for the night and take a bunch of pictures, and it really does help. One thing that we've been doing that's very successful is every year we do a pupper treat. So what we basically do is we send it out, and it's been very popular. And last year we were going through a renovation and we almost didn't do it, but we did it anyway. It wasn't as great as our others, but we have vendors come out, we have free adoptions, everybody dresses up, they bring their pets, they dress them up, we have costume contests. And one of our buildings, even though we're super full, we push the dogs outside and we close it up and we make it a haunted house, and we let people walk through the haunted house. And we have candy, we have trunk or treats. I mean, we do it from like 5 p.m. until like 6 or 7 or 8 at night, depending on the crowd. And we get a ton of people that show up. And even if they don't adopt, they still get to have fun with their kids and their pets. And it's really a lot of fun. And I would highly recommend doing something like that. I think this one's going to be our 6th annual pupper treat.
Oh, wow. That is so cute. I love that idea. I think any way to get your community involved is always going to be great to showcase the amazing animals that you have and the amazing staff that you have. So that is awesome. Well, I really want to say my biggest thank you to the entire panel today. Your advice and insight is just so wonderful for all of us. So I can't say enough how much we appreciate you being here and being a wonderful resource for the organizations that came out today. So thank you. A round of applause for you. But this is now the conclusion of our Big Dog series. So we are going to send out a survey, which I know, a survey, but it really, really helps us out to improve these events for you all. So when you get it, you'll get it via email. There is also going to be an option to submit for a potential grant to help support increased life saving at your shelter. So your organization could actually be selected to receive up to $1,000 grant to help you implement some of these life-saving programs at your shelter. So I highly recommend filling out this survey. Again, you will get it in the email after this session. You will also receive in that email this session's recording. So there'll be a link to it as well as that YouTube link so that you can check it out there and share it to whoever you would like to. There's going to be resources on Big Dogs on that Trello board that will link as well, which will have tons of good stuff to bring back to your staff and volunteers, fosters, all that good stuff. And there's also going to be information about our next series. So we're not done yet. Our next series actually starts this time next week, July 18th on Wednesday. It's going to start on population management. That's our next title. So this will be all about implementing pathway planning and daily rounds. And it's going to be a 4-part series. It's led by our shelter medicine team here at Best Friends. They are absolutely incredible and very highly knowledgeable. Like, they're wonderful. I love them. We will have speakers, Dr. Becca and Dr. Aaron. They're going to help us guide through implementing those pathway plans and also operational daily rounds at your organization. So I know they are a shelter medicine team, but they're going to be going through like operationally how you can implement those daily rounds and pathway plans at your organization. It's going to be a really great series. So we will send you more information about that so you know how to you should already be signed up for the whole series already if you're here on Zoom. So you'll get a notification when that starts next week. And I really want to say thank you for attending today. If you are not a Best Friends Network partner already, you are sure to please register so that you can get more opportunities through Best Friends, including opportunities for grants. So again, thank you to all of our panelists one more time. We appreciate you being here, and your advice is priceless, so thank you. Thank you everyone for being here, and we will see you next week for our population management series. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your day.